For this video, we're staying at the level of ecosystems, all of the biotic and abiotic factors in an area. Video 4.5 is about how nutrients cycle. This first video will talk about nutrient cycles in general, followed by a series of videos covering each nutrient cycle individually and in more depth. Together, the Video 4.5 series will cover these 4 learning objectives, studying how carbon, nitrogen, water, and phosphorus cycle through ecosystems. Nutrient cycling, or biogeochemical cycling, will require some different strategies to manage all of this information compared to what we've been studying before. Biogeochemical cycling tests your limits in a different way, so fasten your seatbelt and be open to trying new strategies. The main nutrients we'll be talking about are carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, and water. And the first question is, why do living things need these nutrients in the first place? Here's one type of molecule in living things, a nucleotide. Nucleotides are the building blocks for DNA, and you can see carbon and nitrogen and phosphorus in the structure of a nucleotide. But there are 4 different types of macromolecules. Besides nucleic acids, which nucleotides are a part of, the other 3 macromolecules are carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. You can see in this chart that carbon is a nutrient found in all 4 macromolecules. Nitrogen is found in proteins and nucleic acids, and phosphorus is found in some lipids, mostly phospholipids, as well as nucleic acids. There are a few characteristics that are true of all nutrient cycles. The first is the concept of a reservoir. A reservoir is simply a place where there is a lot of the nutrient. Reservoirs can be abiotic storage locations. Abiotic reservoirs typically contain most of the nutrients in an ecosystem and include things like soil, atmosphere, bodies of water, and rocks. All living things are actually biotic reservoirs of nutrients, and while living things are alive, nutrients are stored in the macromolecules that make up each living thing. Water towers like this one here that's near and dear to us are actually called water reservoirs too, and it's because they hold a lot of water, like for the whole city of Wheeling. Now, fixation is in all nutrient cycles, and fixation is when a nutrient is first converted from its inorganic form or abiotic form into an organic form that's usable by living organisms. For example, in the nitrogen cycle, nitrogen is in the form of inorganic nitrogen gas in the atmosphere, and with a few chemical reactions, nitrogen fixation happens in the soil when bacteria convert nitrogen into a form usable by plants. All nutrient cycles also have assimilation. Assimilation is when the nutrient actually becomes part of a living thing. In other words, the nutrient is converted from its organic form into a macromolecule form. In most cycles, fixation and assimilation actually happen at the same step. For example, plants fix and assimilate carbon through photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide is the inorganic form of carbon. Photosynthesis fixes carbon into the organic form of glucose, which is also considered assimilation because glucose is a carbohydrate macromolecule. Last of all is release. Release is when the nutrient is released from a living thing and returns back to its abiotic reservoir. For example, in the carbon cycle, producers and consumers both do cellular respiration. A product of cellular respiration is carbon dioxide, and plants and animals release the carbon dioxide back into the abiotic reservoir of the atmosphere. So let's recap. The purpose of this video was to introduce features of all nutrient cycles. Nutrients are important because they make up the 4 classes of macromolecules. All nutrients are stored in reservoirs, which may be biotic or abiotic. Nutrient cycles all share 3 basic steps: fixation, assimilation, and release. Fixation is when the abiotic, inorganic form of the nutrient is converted to an organic form. Assimilation is when the nutrient is incorporated into a macromolecule. When a living thing is finished with the nutrient is released back into its abiotic reservoir.